So, Doom. A series I knew about, like everyone else, but I was never interested in. It was a franchise I really wanted to get into, but was never able to. I've heard about how good the games were, but I would never really get that invested into the series until the reveal of Doom Eternal, and that made me way more interested. And on the holidays of 2019, after the game would be officially delayed, I bought a copy in Doom 2016, and to say I loved it is an understatement. So that brings up the question, why am I talking about Doom Eternal and not 2016? I just have a lot of thoughts about this game, and I'm in the mood to talk about it. And don't get it twisted, Doom 2016 was fantastic, bringing back the series with new mechanics while keeping what made the original game unique with level design, keycards, all that kind of stuff. That game, along with Wolfenstein The New Order, gave the FPS genre a sort of renaissance when the genre began to feel incredibly stale. So after Doom 2016 stole the show with a lot of other shooters, it was clear that people like this kind of game. It's always been something that's been very appealing, especially to other indie games or other games that are inspired like Doom, such as Dusk. So id Software would go silent, and after a few years, we got Doom Eternal. When the gameplay was revealed, it was kind of shocking the new things we saw, but it was awesome. I still remember when they showed off the Phobos stage and everyone's reaction to the Doomslayer being there. And the way he just grabs the plasma rifle as well as the Archvile reveal, man, it was freaking awesome.
Holy shit! Okay, so he gets that.
The game released on the same day as Animal Crossing New Horizons, and it was one of the best memes to come out of that year, and it still is. The game was praised for the new added additions with the gameplay aspects, level design, music, quality of content, and now with all the DLCs out, and especially in the Horde mode, what do I think about it? Well, let's see. My name is Solar, and this is Doom Eternal. As I haven't talked about 2016 yet, let me try and sum up what happened. You wake up in the middle of a demonic invasion. The Doomslayer is guided by Samuel Hayden, the chairman of the UAC, to help stop the invasion. And with the help of the best boy, Vega, an AI that helps you throughout the game, we're able to stop this demonic invasion. But it's a lot more difficult than we think. We learned that Dr. Olivia Pierce, one of the workers at the UAC, has an interest in how Hell can help humanity through some energy, and was the one that initiated the invasion of Hell on Mars. After breaking property and not caring, we get teleported to Hell. As we return to finally meet Samuel Hayden, we get a device that allows us to teleport back and forth from Hell, and he has us pick up an item called the Crucible. Now the goal is to grab the Crucible, stop the link from Mars and Hell, and kill Olivia Pierce, who becomes the Mastermind. After killing the Mastermind, the Slayer gets teleported back to Mars, and Hayden takes the Crucible. He will continue to research on it as it can prove helpful for humanity, and sends the Doomslayer somewhere. Where? I don't know. Seriously, I don't think anyone knows what happened to the Slayer until now.
Against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
A few years go by and Earth does not look good. But I'm more curious on what happened to the moon. I haven't seen anyone talk about it, and it's kind of surprising. It's literally blown in half and no one mentions it. Also, if you want to know how over the top the game is going to be, there is a pentagram on the Earth, and billions of people have already died from the invasion. We see the Slayer, as I'll refer to him from now on a floating fortress in space. Ready to get this? I don't know. Vega tells us that there are hell priests that are leading the invasion, and killing them can stop this. With awesome shots and a somehow more intense rendition of At Hell's Gate, this is gonna be a bloodbath. As you can see, the game starts off with a shotgun instead of the pistol. I don't get why the pistol was a weapon in 2016, since once you got the assault rifle, it was useless, so I think this is a good change. Many aspects of the game are different, starting with the mods. You still need to find the drones to get the mods and collect upgrade tokens to unlock the upgrades for the mods. That was a mouthful for some reason. For the shotgun, the grenade mod has gone from a regular grenade launcher to a sticky grenade launcher. This can be pretty useful to get larger enemies or those that are far away. The triple shot mod has been turned into an automatic mod, which is just so much better to take down larger health enemies. It's very useful in the beginning of the game. After the arena, we oh, that's one of the Hell Priests.
Remains guarded. You can.
Well, the first Hell Priest is already dead.
Has been terminated. The demonic consumption of Earth has been reduced by 36.8%. There are 2 Hell Priests remaining.
If you can't tell from everything like the enemy designs and how things like ammo, health look, this takes on a more arcadic look, and I love it. Doom 2016 had a perfect blend of realism with the Mars facility, mixing well with the designs of the demons. I think Eternal style is a solid and natural continuation of that art style. So back to the weapons. Instead of being on the ground on a corpse, it just floats there. So there aren't really like any cool animations of you grabbing something, which is fine. The next weapon we get is the heavy cannon / assault rifle. This weapon got a few changes. The micro missiles are just as good as they were in 2016. I would say a bit better due to the increase of enemy density. The best change, however, is changing the useless scope to the precision bolt. The mod consumes 6 bullets to make a stronger one shot against some demons and can hit critical areas for some enemies. What do I mean crits? Well, in the first level, we get arachnotrons. You can use either the sticky grenade or the precision bolt to hit the turret on the head and deal immense damage, and doing so can disable certain attacks. A lot of enemies have critical areas, or like the Kanko demon, have a weakness: eating a grenade. It doesn't matter how many times I do that glory kill, it's always satisfying as hell. I did not mean for that to be a pun, I am sorry. Further on, we find a shoulder-mounted grenade launcher. The grenades can now be launched without interrupting the use of the weapons, and it just personally feels stronger. Oh, and one of the biggest changes you'll notice, the chainsaw. The chainsaw is used to scavenge ammo, but you can only hold 3 charges, while the 2016 version was able to get more charges with the ammo upgrades. The Eternal version can recharge one saw, thankfully, so you're always going to be able to use it to get ammo. I think this changes for the better. It was super OP that you can use the saw to just kill some of the bigger demons easier. I'll talk about how these changes make the game feel a lot more different from 2016 once we get a lot more items. At the end of the level, we unlock the fast travel, so we can go back to certain areas of the level to get stuff like unlockables. We take the elevator to the 2 other Hell Priests who see the head of the Hell Priest and warn the Slayer that he can't stop this invasion, and the Slayer does this to show who they're messing with.
You go too far this time. You cannot interfere.
Savathun? Okay, this is the Khan Maykr. She tells the Slayer that what is happening cannot be stopped and just walks away. She really doesn't have a lot to do with her right now. All we know is that she's a heavenly being and clearly is helping out with this demon invasion.
For it was you who was meant to enforce it.
Back at the fortress, Vega tells us that to find the next Hell Priest, we need to upgrade our Celestial Locator, and the Slayer knows he can find it in the next level, Exodia. Exodia? Yeah, I'm going with that. But before that, we get the Flame Belch. It's a mini flamethrower that lights enemies on fire and can drop small bits of shield health. It's an incredibly useful tool that proves essential later on in the game. We also get these upgrade crystals. I'm not entirely sure what they're called. These are upgrades to your arsenal, such as extra time and enemies on fire. You need both the power-ups to unlock the actual upgrade, but it is nice that you can slightly increase your health and ammo with whichever item you select. So with that, we head to Exodia, a city that once belonged to the Night Sentinels. Story-wise, we meet King Novik, the king of the Sentinels, and already you can feel his presence as he's the only person who can make the Slayer kneel to him. So to put backstory from the best that I know, the Doom Slayer was found one day in the outskirts of the city. The king saw his immense power in a Colosseum battle, and with an invasion of hell where he saw the outsiders' hatred against the demons, he was recruited to be a Night Sentinel. He tells the Slayer that despite the invasion, he must not kill the Hell Priest as they were once of Sentinel blood. I think we're kinda late on that one. Also, a really small thing, but I want to keep in mind what he looks like right now. I initially thought that he's dead and this is just his spirit living on, but something that happens in the DLCs makes me question this. Gameplay wise, this level introduces a lot of stuff. We get the runes back. The runes are basically mods that you can slot on that help the gameplay, but unlike in 2016 where you had to do a mini challenge to unlock the rune, and then had to do another challenge to upgrade it, you just get the mod then and there. My personal favorites are getting a glory kill faster, better movement control in the air, and staggering demons for a longer time. I chose the speed buff because I was used to it before and I really liked it, but this gameplay makes me look like the definition of ADHD. We also get the dash. It's pretty simple. You can dash from or to demons. You can be helpful to dodge attacks or get close to an enemy to glory kill them. But the best new addition is the blood punch. I love the blood punch. Getting glory kills fills up the blood punch, which can both clear small enemies or cause massive damage to bigger enemies. With the blood punch, we basically have what makes Eternal different from 2016, management of resources. You don't have much ammo, health, or shields like you do in the past game. I mean, technically you have the same health and shield. Because of the increase in intensity of the enemies, your arsenal is built to make sure you can get what you need and notice. Glory kills or later on blood punch for health, chainsaw for ammo, and fire for shield. During the level, we find Sentinel batteries. These can help unlock certain rooms in the fortress that can have armor sets, upgrade bots. Also, if you haven't noticed, I'm using the original Praetor suit. Nothing against the Eternal version, it's freaking beautiful. I just like the old suit like the size of an ant more. Now that we're in hell, we get the plasma rifle. The plasma rifle got a redesign from the 2016 version to look more like the rifle from the classic games, which I personally like a little bit more just because it's bulky. You have two mods. First is the heat blast. Similar to the 2016 version, after shooting for a decent amount of time, it charges up a blast that can stagger some enemies or even evaporate them. The mastery version of this mod is one that I love because after shooting the charge, you get a limited time where the plasma does increase damage, and it sounds beautiful. The second is the microwave beam. I only find it useful for the ancient gods for what I remember, but it can easily break enemy shields and the explosion can damage surrounding enemies, so I guess it is useful. To progress the level, we need to pick up batteries to power up the robots and move or break things in our way. Unfortunately, that means going through the goo that you can't move around. Not even the dash works. It sucks, but it doesn't appear very often in game, but when it does, it's annoying. I love how over the top this game is. After some honestly Mario-ish platforming, we meet the Betrayer. The Betrayer reluctantly helps to charge the locator. He warns the Slayer too to think of what he's doing, but as he tells us about what we're doing, he asks the Slayer for something.
Hear me, Slayer. When his heart is laid to rest, then his soul will be at peace. And so will mine.
So, the Betrayer, known before as Valen, he was a Knight Sentinel that made a deal with one of the Hell Priests to bring his son back who was killed in battle and trade for some demons. After a failed defense from the Sentinels against the Hell attack, the Hell Priest brought back the Betrayer's son, but as the Icon of Sin. Yes, that Icon of Sin from Doom 2. After all that happened, he exiled himself from the Sentinels and was only remembered as the Betrayer. Also, one thing to note, the song that plays here sounds oddly familiar. It's probably in my mind. We got a few more things to talk about before we finish the level. First is the Slayer Gate. In certain levels, there's a Slayer Gate that you can find that leads you to the Slayer Gate. The gate is basically a small horde moment to kill everything you see in sight. The gates also spawn in more difficult enemies you won't see until later levels. After you beat the gate, you get upgrade tokens and an Empyrean key. The key is kinda useless to us right now until we grab 6 of them. Next are these challenges. There's just a quick challenge that you can do to defeat a certain amount of enemies in a timer. I see these more as a way to get more weapon tokens when you need it. In the final arena of the stage, we get power-ups back, this one being the quad damage renamed Onslaught. There are 3 of them. Onslaught, as stated, makes your weapon do quad damage for a limited time, Overdrive makes your weapons shoot faster and allows for infinite ammo, and Berserk can allow you to one-shot glory kill demons. I am very upset that we barely see the Berserk power-up. Getting to brutally kill some demons even more is what I crave. A small detail, but I love that the eyes of the Slayer are shown when he's picking up a power-up. Back at the Watchtower, we place the Celestial Locator and we find the next Hell Priest in the Cultist base. We're also sent to get the Ice Bomb and we're able to use it in the Slayer's arena. So the Slayer's fortress is pretty big. It has a few doors that can only be unlocked by Sentinel batteries, and these have armor sets, robot mods, and the Sentinel coins. These help with aspects like the grenade, environment, all that. The grenades, for example, can be upgraded to have an extra grenade, and enemies killed by it drop mini nades. We also see the Slayer's room. You can see the weapons you unlock, as well as the action figures you find. The Slayer also has a bunch of gnarly guitars, a picture of Daisy, and I don't even want to think of what the Slayer has to do for this PC. The arena is mostly there to test out new items if you want. It's nothing bad, and it's cool that this is in the game as it helps people get back into the game movement, kinda like me. Now we head to the Cultist base. The base has a lot of puzzles and fun mechanics that you can mess around with. We also get introduced to the Mancubus. It acts very similar to the 2016 version, but you can break its mounted guns with crits. It's essential to do that since if you get too close to the Mancubus, it can launch a lingering attack in the ground, so better take it out from a distance or as quickly as you can. As you can see from the gameplay, I suck. I'm still very new to these kinds of games. But this has helped with the lives system. Instead of dying and restarting to a checkpoint, lives are spread around the levels. When you lose all your health, it takes one life and you can escape from where you were with a few seconds of immunity. In this level, we find new enemies. The shield soldiers were absolutely infuriating in 2016, but in Eternal, you can use the plasma rifle to break the shield and it can hurt enemies around the explosion. The second enemy is the Whiplash. The enemy can slither around and attack the Slayer from afar. On its own, it's a fine enemy, but when you have extra demons surrounding you, it can be irritating to kill it. Thankfully, we get the rocket here, and it's a lifesaver. The rocket has the same mods as in 2016. It has a lock-on, and my personal favorite, self-detonating mod. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? As we progress through the base, it seems that the demons took the Slayer's super shotgun. To get it back, we had to take control of a Revenant.
Neural connection successful. You are now in control of the Revenant drone. You may use it to reclaim your property.
This is pretty much a demo of the PvP mode, which is called Battle Mode. It's a fine section and you only have to do it once in your campaign, and thankfully it is early on, so it's not that bad. The Super Shotgun. The freaking Super Shotgun. The weapon, as you see, has a grappling hook, but instead of pulling enemies towards you, you pull yourselves to them. Like 2016, it only has one attachment, but here the shotgun doesn't just become the only weapon you use. The mastery of the Super Shotgun allows the hook to light enemies on fire when grappled, which will drop armor. Not much else happens in the Cultist base, so we move on to the Doom Hunter base. This level does have combat, but it's also the most platforming you'll do up to this point in the level. We get the returning Pinky, which has strong armor in front of their body and has a weakness behind their back. Or if you're like me, you could just one-shot them with a blood punch. There's a different variant called the Spectre, and it's just an invisible Pinky, nothing else different. As we progress through the level, the Hell Priest boasts of their new enemy, who we see getting upgraded throughout the level. I like this since it helps give the enemy a bigger danger, and also that everything in here is decorated with skulls. We also get the most annoying enemy in the game, and yes, I know what comes up later, the Carcass. A demon that can make a shield anywhere in the arena to protect other demons. I freaking hate this enemy. Not only is the shield annoying, it can be placed in front of you and stop your movement. It's infuriating. You don't even have to look at the Carcass and it can still place a shield in front of you. We also get the Prowlers. They can teleport away from the Slayer and can be pretty difficult to hit, but they're mostly like imps but purple. I haven't really pointed it out, but I really like that we're getting an actual snow level. I remember in 2016 there was one, but it was mostly the opening. I'm a sucker for snow stuff, so I like this level. But as we reach the end of the stage, and with all the build-up, we meet the first boss of the game, the Doom Hunter.
The great Argadon hunters from the Telos realm, though long thought to be extinct, created to hunt only the Slayer and his Night Sentinels during the unholy crusades. Some improvements on their design have been made. Enjoy what is undoubtedly my finest work.
The hunter starts with a shield that can only be broken by plasma weapons, and then he can damage the boss itself. I highly recommend the rocket launcher with the lock-on mod to do insane damage. After you get its first bar down, it breaks off and begins to be more aggressive in exchange for no longer having a shield. The second part of this fight has you fight 2 Doom Hunters. I oddly think this is easier, since for the most part the Doom Hunters stay pretty far and only really aggro when it reaches critical damage. The Hunters are really cool, and the thing I like the most is that this is the introduction of the boss, who later on becomes a mini-boss you'll encounter in future levels.
The beast, does he not seek enhanced power? Gifts to aid him in his noble conquest, perhaps in return for my...
You know, I'm starting to like this guy. Back home, the Maker is mad at our continuation of killing the Hell Priest, but states that humanity will still fall to the heavens. More importantly, the last Hell Priest has been moved to another location we can't find. In the meantime, we find that there's a Gore Nest on Earth that we can go and take out, leading us to the next level. But before that, we get the Ballista, the newest version of the 2016 Gauss Cannon. The Gauss Cannon was insanely powerful, so it got rightfully nerfed. The 2 mods though are really good. We have the Arbalist, where it charges a bolt that explodes after a certain amount of time to do massive damage, especially on flying enemies like the Kagu Demon. The second mod is the Destroyer Blade. I slept way too long on this mod. You charge the shot to launch a disc-like attack in front of you to destroy anything. I put this on because I didn't think it was actually going to be pretty useful, only realizing in later levels that it is one of the best weapons to clear out some smaller enemies. Also, it's a small thing, but the normal shot of the Ballista has a slight knockback that moves the player back and can be pretty useful or fun for movement.
Please remain calm. You may notice a slight change in the environment. Fear not. It's all part of the plan.
The Super Gore Nest location is nearby. This is the site where the invasion...
Oh, so this is what hell is like. The Super Gore Nest is just pure chaos. So many arenas, a lot of enemies, it's pure slaughter, and I love it. But the setting is also just insane. It looks straight out of H.P. Lovecraft. We find the new addition of rat suits. This is just a way to block the radiation to platform through in the level. And I had a bit where I was just like, yeah, it's there, and that's what it is. It's just there. We also found the chain gun, probably my favorite weapon. It has 2 mods. The first is the shield. It works pretty well and can be pretty useful with the mastery mod launching the shield after it depletes to the enemy, but I personally like the sentry mode as it can shred everything like it's made of paper. In this level, we get the Dread Knight, one of my favorite enemies. They have dual wielding blades on their arms and they can just rush at the player. I like them mostly due to their design and that they're just fun to go up against. I like this guy. This level also gives us buff totems. I hate buff totems. When a buff totem is active, every enemy is increasingly aggressive and the only way to stop the buff is to destroy the totem. It can be pretty easy to find it in an arena as it's usually in sight of where you are, but it's not easy when you're getting surrounded by buff prowlers and you cannot move at all. This level has us explore to get keys to open the Gore Nest and destroy its heart. This is probably my favorite part of the level as it has you explore all around the arena to find what you need, and it always feels different. Once the building of the Gore Nest is back online, it destroys the heart and you run like hell before the nest explodes. Vega informs us that to stop the invasion, we're gonna need to kill the last priest, but because of us not knowing the location, we're gonna need the help of Samuel Hayden. So the next level is the Ark Complex. This is probably my favorite level in the game. This level has us seeing how the Ark team have been trying to defend their facilities, and it's the one that contains Hayden, so that's probably why everything looks horrible. The Ark, also known as the Armored Response Coalition, is basically a non-cultic version of the UAC. You'll probably notice it everywhere, but these holograms are basically propaganda from the UAC saying, hey, look at this, hell is actually pretty nice, when it probably isn't.
Good news for the faithful. The deceiver, Samuel Hayden, has fallen. The Ark is no more.
The Ark were worried about the Slayer's return to Earth, but after some sayings from people of the Slayer actually coming in and killing the priest, they begin to believe he is their savior. This level also has some audio logs we can listen to. The audio is from this person called Dr. Elena Richardson, who was evaluating the Doomslayer possibly before the events of 2016, and the TLDR is that despite the Slayer's immense strength and almost godlike power, he is by all means human. Back to the level, this is when we meet the Cyber Mancubus. They are highly armored versions of the original Mancubus, but using a blood punch will break off some of their armor so you can kill them a lot easier. They're pretty difficult due to how beefy they are. The way forward to the main tower is blocked by a bunch of tentacles, so we're gonna have to use the facility's turrets to destroy them. I really like this section since you get to travel through the buildings and there's a good amount of combat mixed with platforming. And I don't know what it is about this section, but I love the part where you're just fighting the demons in a garage. That is until you get to the unmovable goo again. At least you can grapple onto the fodder enemies to move faster.
Successful. The path is now clear. You can access Dr. Hayden's outpost.
As we enter the facility, everyone inside is freaked out by the Slayer, except this guy.
My God, Dr. Hayden was convinced that you would come here for this eventually. Can I just say that it is an honor for me, personally, to meet you? I
don't know who he is, but I like him already.
We don't know how to access his main cortex. It's all alien. We couldn't figure it out. We have to, prepare for his careful extraction. We were given specific orders.
So, Hayden doesn't look as good as he did in 2016, but that's not our main worry right now.
Demonic presence threat level 5 entering main laboratory.
Opening the portal now.
Never one of us. You were nothing but a usurper, a false idol. My eyes have been opened. Let me help you to see, Slayer.
It's been a while since I fought you, so let's see if I'm not that rusty. Well, that wasn't so bad. Okay, jokes aside, the Marauder. Undoubtedly the most controversial enemy added to the series. A lot of people either really like or really dislike this enemy. What do I think? As an admittedly mediocre Doom player, I love the Marauder. First off, the design is fantastic. Basically a demonic version of the Doomslayer with a demonic power axe and demon-like looking armor similar to the Slayer's suit. Second, his voice is phenomenally creepy and badass. And when researching for this video, I found that the voice for Marauder, Edward Bosco, is the same VA as Alistair in the Has Been Hotel pilot. So maybe that's why this meme makes more sense. Now the gameplay is the most controversial part of the guy. The Marauder can be pretty aggressive as he wields a shield with a shotgun. If you get too close to him, he'll use the shotgun. If you get too far, he launches a blade to the player, and damaging the shield too much will release a hellhound that can be very distracting. You need to find the perfect middle ground to aggro the Marauder. When he's about to attack you, he shines a green light. The best way to damage him is to quickly switch from the ballista and super shotgun after every shot. Repeat this until he's dead. I really like the Marauder. I honestly think if the tutorial in-game was better written, he wouldn't have gotten as much hate as he did. So now we get back to the base. We let Samuel get powered up by the ship so he can actually speak to us.
The final priest is hiding in Sentinel Prime.
Well, that was fast. So there's a portal inside Mars that can be used so we can find the last Hell Priest. How are we gonna get in? Well, we're gonna use the BFG 10,000.
The BFG 10,000, designed by Dr. Samuel Hayden as part of the anti-demonic defense grid.
I understand. Searching the coordinates to the BFG 10,000 now.
You can't just shoot a hole into the surface of Mars.
I still love this intro to the stage. The soundtrack, the enemies in the background surrounding the base, and everyone's reaction to the Slayer is perfect. I especially love the reaction to the guy who has the keycard on him, looking like he was about to get choked.
Hey, who are you? You can't be here.
I gotta say, it's weird that the animation used here is also the same from the Phobos reveal, as if this level was going to be when you would originally get the rifle. In this level, we get the Barons of Hell. They have a similar arm blades like the Dreadnought, but are way more tanky to take down. But my favorite thing about them is that when they get damaged, it shows that the Barons have magma-like blood. That actually reminds me, a feature that was added to Eternal was a damage model system. It physically shows the demon's damage that happens when a demon is attacked, and it's awesome. It makes your weapons feel that much more powerful, but also shows how durable some of these demons can be when they're 1% away from looking like a skeleton. Speaking of small things, in the BFG section of the level, when the BFG itself shoots, you can feel the trouble of the shock in your controller. It's more noticeable if you have an advanced controller like a Turtle Beach Recon controller that I use. Oh hey, Pain Elementals. These guys are like Kako demons, but instead of launching purple balls, they spawn in lost souls, and those are flying skulls that can attack you. They're pretty beefy, but the Arbalist mod for the Ballista makes them kind of a joke, and taking them out with a glory kill is just as satisfying.
Warning, BFG 10,000 fired.
I'm telling you, he's on his way. I need you to... Ah!
So you know how Samuel Hayden said we can't shoot a hole into Mars? Well, we proved it.
Warning, Mars surface targeted.
I said we...
Want me to disable the safety protocols?
I said we prove him wrong.
The pod is set to self-destruct. We should move ahead.
So the BFG, similar to the 2016 version, it's prominently used to clear ads and damage heavy enemies. It was slightly changed so it can stun larger enemies surrounding the shot. Like the past game, you can only get the ammo from specific areas, so use it wisely. To get to the Lost City, we have to travel through the debris of a Mars facility. And I haven't said it a lot, but I absolutely love the designs of the environment. Especially here, like seriously, take the time to just go into like the photo mode and just look at the beautiful backgrounds.
The ion catapult is designed to use only approved UAC ammunition. Override loading sequence. Fire. 3, 2, 1.
You know, this whole section makes me understand why Bungie mentioned Doom Eternal when they showed off the Witch Queen campaign. To end the level, we find the portal to the location so we can finally kill the last Hell Priest. So we arrive in the city, Sentinel Prime, the mainland of the Sentinels, or as they're known in lore, as Argent Denor. I find it odd that considering the Slayer's goals, the Sentinels allow the Slayer back. I guess that makes sense since both the Slayer and Hell Priest are and was considered part of the Sentinels. It's also weird seeing a Maker here, but if you read the Codex, which are basically the lore books, it talks about how the Maker was seen as the gods to the Sentinels, and their help led to a successful defeat to a Hell invasion from a long time ago. The level itself is just a lot of exploration and the boss fight, but in between, there are flashbacks that show how the Slayer was found, as I said when I talked about King Novik a while back. The Slayer does talk in these cutscenes, and it's admittedly kind of cheesy, but it works.
Guts. Huge guts. Kill them. Must kill them all.
He has fight in him yet, in spite of his injuries. Send him to the arena. Let him be judged like the others.
So we head up to the elevator and we see the priest. He does say that if any Sentinel blood is shed, the Slayer will be considered an enemy, which then leads to the Gladiator boss fight. The boss itself is pretty solid. Like the Marauder, the Gladiator shines before it attacks you, and you can damage the demon when that happens. He uses a shield, so it makes it more difficult for the first phase to damage a boss. I also like that the shield is literally a face. The second phase is similar to the Cyber Demon boss from 2016, but instead of just a jumping attack, it waves as you have to move vertically to avoid the attack, like a very dangerous game of jump rope. A pretty solid fight, and a beautiful execution if I may add.
This stops nothing. Earth will be consumed, regardless of what.
We have killed all the Hell Priests, but that has led the Slayer to become an enemy to the Sentinels, so we go.
The portal is ready. We should leave immediately.
The Maker is mad that we actually did what we did, so she threatens us with her saying that she is going to awaken the Icon of Sin so it can destroy humanity and Earth. We also get this quick attack from some demons, which also has BFG Division playing in the background, but it's only for this section and whenever you're in the Fortress's arena. Oh boy. Yeah, there's no avoiding it. We need to talk about Doom Eternal's soundtrack. This has been something I wasn't sure of how to talk about due to the things that have been released when I was writing the script, but I'll try my best to explain the problem. So the composer for both Doom 2016 and Eternal's soundtrack, Mick Gordon, was not being treated well with his role in the Eternal soundtrack. A lot of things happened, with the official OST being announced before Mick was even contracted, not given enough detail to what the soundtrack should be, tracks that were included in the OST that were clearly unfinished or often mismatched together, and a lot more. I really don't want to get further into this since I'm truly unsure of what everyone thinks about this now, and I'd rather not try to influence something that I don't know about and maybe accidentally give something that's completely wrong, so I'll leave a link to Mick's response in the description just in case you're curious. So the soundtrack does have some oddities, but I'm just gonna be blunt. This soundtrack is fantastic. After the success that was 2016's soundtrack, there was a lot to do to one-up it, or even have the same quality as the past soundtrack. Despite the issues that happened, there are some phenomenal tracks in this game. A lot of them still have that Mick Gordon music or tone that you feel like you have never heard in a game, with intense guitar riffs or insane ways of instruments were used or influenced. By that, I mean Mick Gordon imitated or used the noise of a chainsaw or lawnmower for the tracks. This is so metal, I don't think it can even be melted. Plus, there was a thing about 2016's soundtrack that Mick wasn't allowed to use guitars in the beginning, which honestly I still question why that was a thing, but then was allowed to, and now he has all the freedom to use all the guitars he has, and it is literal music orgasm. There is also a choir of metal singers that Mick included in some tracks like Meat Hook and the Gladiator boss fight theme. Despite the immense amount of fast-paced tracks, there are still some that are very much slower paced, like the track that plays when the Slayer arrives at the Phobos base, or even the fortress's ambience. Another track to mention is when you meet the Betrayer. I mentioned something about the track that sounded very similar, and that's because it's a remix of the Victory theme from the first Doom game. The track is also played in other levels like Exodia and the next level, Terrace Nabad, and it has this trumpet-like sound in the track. That is the sound of a kingling, an instrument that's made out of a human femur. Yes, an instrument that's made for the human body. Mick was asked if he used a kingling, and he confirmed that he did. I freaking love this man. Even with what happened, Doom Eternal has some fantastic tracks, and is probably my second favorite OST Mick has made. You may be wondering what my favorite is. It's not 2016, it's actually Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. I will talk about why I think this if I ever get to talking about the Wolfenstein games. So as said earlier, the next level is Terrace Nabad. This might be my least favorite level in the game, but I still say it's pretty good. A lot of the level has you swim through some sludge to do some platforming. The platforming itself is fine, but the swimming itself is incredibly slow, even when you're using dashes. The thing I really don't like is the introduction of the Archviles. It's between the Carcass and the Archvile and which enemy I hate the most. The Archvile can launch fire attacks and shield itself with fire to revive dead enemies, so it makes it the main demon to attack even when other demons are seemingly much deadlier. So to take down the Icon of Sin, we need to use the Crucible to take it down. As seen with this massive demon, we need to keep the blade inside the demon so it can't be revived again. The level has us go through the stage to find the energy coin and charge the Crucible up. In this level, we get the mastery tokens. These are basically a free pass of getting a weapons mastery mod without doing its challenge. I like this since there are some mods you can get with just playing the games, such as the Super Shotguns challenge, just having you kill enemies that were hooked, but then there are some I just don't even want to bother with. During the beginning of the level, we get another flashback of the Slayer being sealed, but something is odd. Specifically this line.
Take it. It will give you strength. Help you on your journey. Take it. It will give you strength. Help you on your journey. If you can withstand the power surge.
Huh, something to think about. But at the end of the level, we get to power up our new weapon, the Crucible.
I'm sure you want to try out the weapon first before you leave.
The Crucible is a one-shot weapon. Other than bosses or mini-bosses, you can pretty much just one-shot every other demon, from the Low Fodder, which I accidentally do once, to Archviles. The drawback is that you can only hold 3 charges, and unlike the chainsaw, the Crucible cannot recharge at least 1 charge of the blade and needs to be found throughout the level. As we return back to the fortress, Hayden states that once we go to the next level, we can't go back to the fortress, so make sure you have what you need. One of those things involves the Empyrean keys. There are 6 keys that drop after defeating a Slayer gate. Getting all 6 keys unlocks a new weapon, the Unmaker.
The Unmaker. Pure maker technology. Inspired by Sentinel weaponry and refined by their divine intellect. Its destructive potential is staggering.
This is a returning weapon from Doom 64, which was pretty cool. It looked cool, sounded cool. It was nice seeing it back. The weapon uses BFG ammo, and its effectiveness is underwhelming. It's actually pretty alright on its own. You can shred through fodder like paper. It can be pretty good against some bigger enemies, but because of how it acts like an auto shotgun, making it consume ammo faster, the BFG is just better utility wise. There was a glitch I remember that when you grabbed an overdrive power up, it actually had infinite ammo, while the BFG didn't, making it at least somewhat useful. But now we head off to the final levels, starting with Nekravol.
Argent energy is made from the souls of Hell's victims. This is the factory where that takes place. Nekravol, the city of the damned.
So yeah, Hayden has finally explained what Argent Energy is, and it's made of Hell's souls. Gameplay wise, there's a few things to talk about. First is the Tyrant, or as I personally like to call them, the Cyber Demons, since it's basically a shrunken version of the Cyber Demon from 2016. Okay, that was too easy. Kinda wish they didn't add the all-star power-up so the Cyber Demon can at least be shown how powerful it is. The enemy is very slow and massive, making it an easier target, but also makes it one of the highest damaging enemies as it can launch a volley of rockets, but can also launch the rockets into the sky and makes it act like a mortar round. A thing to note about all these levels is that they are tough. There are so many enemies in this level that it gets pretty chaotic really quickly, and I love it. But a weird thing to note is that this level is actually split into two. I don't get why this was done. Maybe for space, but the level parts together feels just as long as a middle stage.
The Khan Maykr needs Earth and its souls. Her world is dying. The culling allows her people to replenish their resources and survive. As you save your world, you put hers in peril. Up ahead is Cultist, the sightless judge. It determines who's fit to begin the soul extraction process. The rest will be discarded to the blood swamps.
I wonder what that location is. In this level, we see Calabas, the demon that controls what souls are sent to be extracted. You have to break its eyes to destroy its shield. I really don't get how I didn't get that the way to break the shields is to just shoot the eyes. And this is something I noticed. Hayden says that Calabas is blind, so the turrets that look like eyes aren't actually his eyes. Just a thought. Halfway through the level, we get the interactions from the Cultist base back, and it's so fun to lure demons and squish them. And yeah, it works on the pinkies too. I said the visuals were already crazy, but this part where the bodies are all combined into these cages is honestly very unsettling. Now that we get through that, the next part has us ascend to the Soul Spire, as the pure Argent energy produced there can launch us into Urdak. Hayden also talks about how the Sentinel Priest and the Maykr were the ones that were able to make the souls into Argent energy. The Dark Lord of Hell was able to make an agreement with the Maykr. Hell was able to devour more places in exchange for the energy from Hell's souls, as seen from the fact that this facility uses Maykr energy and technology. This part of the level is my favorite, as there are many openings you can go through to climb this place, and like Calabas, the platform has you kill the eyes to progress. Now we're in the last arena, where we have to break the chains holding the demons that are holding the pillar in the middle so we can go through it. And this will be what will make the first ever being to ever reach Urdak. Man, this place is beautiful, but it feels so empty. It doesn't help that there is an incredibly unsettling ambient track that plays whenever you're not in combat, and it's really creepy. So now our goal is to stop the Maykr from awakening and controlling the Icon of Sin. This level has you travel through these launch pads, and with the help from the air movement room makes this fast and kind of uncontrollable for the most part, or more likely that I just suck. We find the heart of the Icon, and with the Betrayer's knife, we kill it.
We will not be able to control it! No!
Unfortunately, this awakens the Icon of Sin, and now has been set free to go to Earth and destroy everything in sight. We see a new enemy, the Maykr drones. They're just one-shotted enemies when you headshot them, and they drop a lot of ammo. So they're like a piñata. They're incredibly easy to take out and aren't really that much of a danger. Now that the Icon of Sin isn't in control, it has begun to destroy Earth, and the longer it's alive, the stronger it'll get. So now our goal is to get back to Earth as fast as possible. The only way back now is to set up a portal, and we have to configure these with the help of Vega.
System acquired. Setting a course for the Earth dimension now.
I can see now. Am I the father of Abraham?
So out of every part of the game, I struggled the most here trying to explain what the Father is. So here is what I was able to find, and if I missed something, please do let me know. So the Father was the being that gave life to the Makers and created Urdak. This led to the Maker known as Samur, who later became the Seraphim. The Seraphim was the being that gave the Slayer his immense strength. After many battles, Samur traveled to Earth and he transferred into a cloned human. That human was Samuel Hayden. I said that the line the one being said during the terrorist Nabad flashback had a similar line to Hayden in 2016, cluing into people who that really was. More of this will be expanded later in the Ancient Gods expansion, but for now, Vega is the Father. He was probably put there when Samuel Hayden was working on Vega. Okay, enough lore dump. Back to the gameplay. Once we set up all the 3 rings, we head to the portal before being stopped by the Khan Maykr, and we have to fight her to progress.
Who are you? A human, once a mortal, to defy our traditions.
Alright, you are literally just Savathun right now. So the Khan Maykr fight is probably the most disappointing fight, but it's always been like that for me even when I first played this game. You have to break the Maker's shield so that she can become vulnerable, and the only way to damage her is to blood punch her. Yeah, that's it. That's the fight. There isn't even like a second phase. The most dangerous part of the platform is that they can be dangerous to stand on. To say this fight is disappointing is putting it lightly. As the Maker dies, she tells how we have jeopardized all of creation, and her core rises to... I wonder what that means, but we can't think about that. Our final goal is to stop the Icon of Sin in the last level, Final Sin. The final level has you catch up to the Icon as it goes through the city, and we have to battle through many arenas with the most difficult enemies. The final level has you catch up to the Icon as it goes through the city, and we have to battle through many arenas with the most difficult enemies of the game all appearing here. Thankfully there are many Crucible drops and BFG ammo, so you aren't always struggling. That is until the Marauder comes around. I think I said this earlier, but you can't use the Crucible to one-shot them, so you actually have to fight them legit. I really like how massive the Icon of Sin is and how it blocks your path unintentionally and it's just minding its own business. But at the end of the level, we finally get close enough to fight the Icon of Sin.
Now is the time. 2 titans meet, as it was written.
So this guy has about 2 phases. The first has you break the exterior armor, and it can be pretty tanky to take out, as well as that you get surrounded by infinite spawning enemies, but it's usually the Dread Knights that would give me the most problems. But thankfully there are Crucible charges, so they're going to be pretty easy to take out. It takes a while, but once you break the Icon's armor, it walks away for the next phase.
Double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon.
The second phase is pretty annoying, but also fun. The Icon can be damaged, and the damage done to the body is pretty disgusting. You can also use the BFG ammo to do severe damage to it. That is if the Icon decides to stay in place. Yeah, the most annoying part of this fight is that the Icon can move around the arena. It also doesn't help that the arena also spawns in Cyber Macubus, and they are so annoying when they do the ground attack when they're just jittering your entire screen. I'm pretty disappointed in myself that I died more to the enemies in the arena here than the actual boss itself, but we managed to get all the crits down, and we plunge the Crucible into the Icon of Sin. We break the hilt so it doesn't ever come back to life, we stop the invasion of Hell on Earth, and we finish Doom Eternal.
For your light is eternal.
So, what do I think of the game? Well, Doom Eternal might just be one of my favorite games and one of the best FPSs I've played in recent time. In basic terms, it took what already worked with 2016 and just somehow made it better. It's kind of difficult to explain, but it's pretty simple as it's just a very good game and a very good sequel. The gameplay is high tense and fast paced, the music is phenomenal. Despite what I originally thought, I actually really like the lore added as it helps expand the Doom universe, but it also works because for the most part, you can still get the basics down with just playing the game on its own. There's still a lot to talk about this game, like the multiplayer battle mode, which is there. Horde mode is so fun, and there is just a lot of customization with the weapon skins and costumes. There is so much to do here, but next time, I will be talking about the first DLC, The Ancient Gods Part 1. Still, I hope you enjoyed the video. I honestly thought my Dark Souls 3 video would be the longest video I'll ever make up to this point, and yeah. I don't know when this next video will be out, but I can't wait to see y'all there. Anyways, have a great day.
You can't handle the uber instincts of my uber autism. Observe.